I want to just make sure before we do all this where I am, just video pictures from on the walk I'm taking, pictures from getting set up for TEDx Cambridge, the fact that I have to fly through storms to get where I'm going, bizarre layouts of hotel lobbies, a well-earned drink after something else. Just, it really is a mixture of where I am, what I see, and the experience that I'm having. So I'd like to think it's quite a mixture. It's like you see, there's very little formal things there. I like to, particularly when I'm showing pictures of what I'm doing and where I'm working. I think that's important to show people what it looks like to do things with me, and what I'm doing. So it's, even if I go all the way back, there's my husband in the middle. Sweet. What's funny is if you look at it, it's like, it's not a huge account. Like I am not like a massive Instagrammer. I haven't been there for a huge amount of time, but I just kind of like to show people the process. So at the bottom, this is me working on a new talk. This is, the red thread is when I first got the logo for it.
So let's click on one of your sticky note photos.
One of my sticky note photos. Okay.
and let's look at that.
Sure.
First of all, I love sticky notes. I have an entire box of sticky notes, and when I do planning sessions with clients, I take the box and we sticky note the room. So
I love it. Yeah.
I absolutely love it, and I totally relate to this. What's your thought process on how you choose to caption or not caption whatever it is you're uploading?
I almost always caption it, mostly because I think sometimes the things that I decide to take pictures of would not be necessarily intuitive, like, why is she showing a pattern? Why is that happening? Yeah, I take a lot of pictures of my lap. This is how you get like patterns from my dress and things like that. But I don't know. I don't ever want to assume that someone just goes, oh, isn't that interesting? Like I mean, there always is, particularly since I know this is like a business account. I don't, I do have a private account, but I don't use it. So I know there's like Rinsta and Finsta or whatever it is, the real Instagram and the not real, whatever. For me, it's all this one. And so I always want to be conscious of a couple things. A, if it's not intuitively clear what it is that I'm working on, I want to tell people because I don't want them to be confused. I don't want them to look at it and go, what? But particularly with this one, if it's something that reveals a little bit of my process that I think that would be useful to people who are either interested in what I've been talking about or interested potentially in working with me, it's also important for me to show the people I work with that I do the thing I tell them to do. This is what I know. That when I say like, hey, here's the process I use to build a message, or here's the process I use to build a talk. There it is. They can go and they can see that.
And they can see that you use colors as well to help capitalize.
I do. Yeah. I mean, this is the Post-it note version of a visual outline tool I created. I call it the talk blocks. And so, yeah, and the red here, as you would imagine, since I talk about the red thread, are the pieces of the red thread in the talk. And so this is a way that I structure and think through the kind of core intellectual heart of a talk, and it divides, opening aside, it divides into 4 sections, each of which is leading up to the red thread piece in the next section. And this is the way I set up figuring out how to do it all and what I'm going to talk about.
Awesome. So you can close this one and keep scrolling, or pick a different one and randomly open it. What is your thought or strategy on using hashtags?
So I'm not a heavy hashtag user, as you can see. I do use red thread. This is another one that's kind of me showing. Well, it's funny because I picked one that has a hashtag in the title. But this is, again, an example of me showing what I do behind the scenes. So I do that video blog that I talked about every week, and maybe it's for fear of I don't know, OCD, but I want to make sure that people know that every single one of those is built on a red thread, which is built on this kind of message structure that I talk about. And so I take a picture of that to show it. But when it comes to hashtags, you know, I don't use Instagram as a let me get in front of as many people as possible. And I think that if that's how you want to use it, I fully support that. And in that case, using the hashtags is a really good way to do it. I know what the data says, that the more hashtags you use, like the hashtags are the way to get your stuff found by people who don't necessarily know you. That's frankly not how I use Instagram. I mean, Instagram is really for people who do know me. And or that kind of that next circle out. I'm not really using Instagram as a growth platform for me, mostly because maybe it's laziness, but where I have the following, my biggest following is on Twitter, but that's mostly just because I've been on there for 8 freaking years. So, you pick up some people after a time. I think it's useful, particularly for growth strategy. For me, I use it just to help focus the attention of somebody who may be going through it about what is this about. But it's not something that I'm, it's not something most of the time I use them sarcastically, like this might be, yeah, there's a good one. Like my hashtag is old hotels are the best and born in the wrong decade. That's not going to get me any new clients. But it does, I think, help to get, as I was saying earlier, a little peek into my brain and what's happening in my brain when I'm seeing this thing, which happened to be this awesome old elevator dial. So, and then, this is the pattern on my lap. And then I'm like, oh, it's DVF, vintage print. Again, this is not going to directly get me a client. I know that. But I think it's that kind of awareness of what's going on and thinking through what's happening that people understand what it is. Now, when there are places where I can, help another organization. Of course, I'm realizing I left a letter out of this hashtag. I'm going to. So this is the missing a letter hashtag of TEDx Cambridge. I'm going to do that. I try to, part of my approach generally is trying to be generous with what we're doing, with what I'm doing.
Scroll down and click on the red carpet image.
Red carpet image.
Right there.
This one?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is, this one I got. All right. So this is us right before the first TEDx Cambridge Salon. I got the hashtag right there. DVF Girl, since I love Diane von Furstenberg, I know that that's a hashtag they're using right now. I always wear DVF dresses on the TEDx Cambridge stage, so that was kind of where that came in. So there's that one. I love those shoes.
So you did not tag the people in the photo with you.
So in that case, none of these people are on Instagram that I'm aware of. I'm, like I said, I think in certain ways, I'm like the anti-Instagrammer because I'm not doing a lot of the stuff you're supposed to do. And honestly, that's because it really serves this very specific function for me of helping people to see this other thing. Where
through your perspective.
Yeah. And so, when there others of us show up, so this one I did, cause this was my friend Neen James, who's amazing, by the way, an active NSA board member. This is her getting her award at Influence. And this one was for her. So I'm not going to go tag everybody else in it, but I thought it was I wanted to make sure that the focus was on her and the fact that she got this awesome award. I just generally find that, I don't know, did I do it here? Now I'm curious. No. Okay. So I try to repost a lot. I think that's probably one of the things that I do most often is that if I use the app repost so that if I see somebody else's thing that I think would be useful and I want to help get their word out, then I will repost that. So this was an event that I was speaking at with Sims Wyeth and Dr. Nick Morgan. You know, and frankly, I have no idea if either of them are Instagram. I know Nick is on Twitter and Facebook, as is Sims, but I don't know. I just, you know, I take a very intuitive approach to it, which is probably not terribly helpful for people who are like, let me check the box and make sure I'm doing everything right on Instagram. Because mostly I go with what feels right, and given what I know about the kind of people that follow me, what I'm going to go with what I think is going to strike the right note with them. Like I very much value, particularly in this kind of intimate group that Instagram is, because I don't have a huge number of followers here. I really want to honor that kind of intimate interaction that we have. And I don't want it to be as widespread, you know? So if I were to rate I mean, I think I put more kind of spur of the moment thoughts about my life on my personal Facebook page. But I'd say Instagram is the next most personal from there. And then Facebook and Twitter, like probably then Facebook brand page, and then Twitter is less formal. And then LinkedIn is my redheaded stepchild of social things. I mean, I post there, but oh my Lord. And the saddest thing is I am one of the first 10,000 members of LinkedIn, because my brother-in-law happened to have been one of the co-founders, and I'm like linked dumb. I just don't. It's not good, you know. And then, you know, the other night my kids were out swimming, and I just like, we were doing night swimming, and I think my hashtag was like, for any REM fans out there, you know, night swimming. Also a great song. Yes. You know, it just struck me that was a cool image. And, you know, this is, you know, people love video. People love watching this little guy, you know, dive. He's still learning to dive. But, you know, it's just fun. Yes. So, you know, I think other than the kind of the red thread videos that I put up there, which are the kind of the what I do before the break, on my videos. The only other video I have, which people really like seeing because it was fun, let me see if I can find it, was this one, which is where we were putting the TEDx Cambridge letters together on the stage, you know. Because the thing is, like, of all the things that I share, you see there's probably a larger number of TEDx stuff than anything else, because frankly, it's the TEDx stuff that people are most interested in, because that's the thing that is, particularly for the speakers, it's like the speaker's like number one bucket list item, right? And I think just for humans, the TEDx talk is starting to replace novel on bucket list, because people are like, it's 15 minutes. That's way easier than writing a whole book. Which I debate, by the way. But I think, you know, that's one of the things I love to show is just, I think, I don't know, Instagram really is for me revealing the things that I think people are most curious about. And because that's the way that I do it. It's like I said, it tends to be a lot of behind the scenes stuff. Like, this is me, you know, who gets to see the inside of Verizon's like in-house studio, you know, like people don't see that very often. And so that's a thing where I'm going to ask people, you know, I'm going to ask permission. I was like, hey, can I take a picture of this? And I do. And then the funniest comment on this one, which I think ended up on Facebook and not here, was that someone just said it looked like a giant game of Cards Against Humanity.
That's exactly what I was thinking as you were scrolling through. Like,
you're like, is that?
That's life-size Cards Against Humanity.
Life-size Cards Against Humanity? Yeah. I mean, so... yeah, and then, you know, other things that are here. This is a picture from one of the events that I do, where I get a bunch of people together and have them work on their talks, like what's the core message and the 5 key concepts of their talks, to give them a new framework for it. That's a thing that's fairly new still, so people are really curious about it, and so that's a thing where I, you know, give people a peek into it.
One thing I do love that you do when you use, and I suspect the app does this, but when you take a photo or a post from somebody else, you give them appropriate credit.
Yes. Oh, I'm huge. Oh gosh. Yes. So fun fact about Tamsen. When I was in college, I worked at what's called the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum here in Boston. It's this wonderful house museum. But what I was in charge of there was something called rights and reproductions. And so what I was in charge of was granting people the rights to use the images that of works in the collection. So that was an early inculcation of you give credit. You give credit for images. You give credit for ideas. You give credit for everything. And yeah, so reposts. You can repost without that stuff, but I'm like, why would I do that? Like, you know, someone was kind enough to tag me in something or take a picture of me or something. Why wouldn't I like make it clear that, you know, Boston Speaks or the Stylist Closet or, you know, whoever it might be was kind enough to do that. I'm gonna share that. I'm gonna repost it where it makes sense.
That's actually one of the foundational elements of Instagram and why it took off so as fast as it did, because it tried to honor the original poster's creation of content, and that's why photographers went to it. And one of the things that they now promote is fake news does not spread on Instagram like it does on other platforms, because you don't have the ability to share.
Yeah.
You only have the ability to like and comment. So the sharing ability of fake news or other elements is minimalized.
Yep.
So it creates a more of an authentic platform.
Yeah. And that's how it's always struck me. And I think that my tendency not to remember that Instagram exists actually contributes to what I think people find valuable when I do share to it, is that when I do go, you know what, this would be interesting to people. That really is something that I legit think would be interesting to people. Or it's just kind of, I'm in a moment and I want to capture it, and I want to capture it in a way that other people might enjoy seeing a similar thing, particularly if they know me and, you know, if they've met my kids or whatever. And I think there are times when we can over plan, and we can over prescribe, and we can over checklist stuff. And I've seen it. I mean, I've been in marketing long enough that we just feel like, what if I do X and Y and Z and Q and A and B and C and D, and then it's all going to work. Yeah. And, you know, there's no guarantee that it will. So do the things that feel right. Do the things that are shown to work, but that also feel right to you. Just because it works doesn't mean it's going to work for you, simply because if something about it doesn't feel right to you, then it's probably not going to feel right to your audience. And that's really key. Because
how about we unshare your screen so we can bring you back? And now you're back.
And now I'm back. I hope I didn't make anyone sick with the scrolling.
Okay, you can keep talking. I just wanted to bring you back since we were done looking at your Instagram profile.
Yeah, I just I think as humans, and as humans that need to market ourselves and market the businesses that perhaps our speaking supports, there's no one who understands our prospective audiences better than we do. And at least ideally.
I was just going to say, there are some that don't even know that, but
don't even do that part. Oh my, yeah. But I think,
that's not a conversation for today. That's another interview.
Put that one over there. And I think that we don't listen to our gut enough. I think we listen to plenty of gurus and we don't listen to our gut. And the thing is, and oh my God, some of my best friends are gurus. No. But you know, the by and large, the advice that's out there is out there to be helpful. And I believe that. I mean, I know that there's some people out there just putting it out there to make a buck or whatever. And so it's always meant in good health, I think. And there is good value in a lot of that if there's enough overlap between what that person did with the advice that they're giving with what you're trying to do. And the thing is that but marketing is not enough for there to be that overlap. There has to be similarity between, are you trying to achieve similar things with similar people, with a similar mindset, with a similar intent from you? Because any single one of those things is going to invalidate somebody else's prescription for how to make something work. And that's true from everything from Instagram to how to build a talk. Like you have to make sure that you match the mindset of who you're talking to. And that means, of course, that we all have to understand really who we're for. And so when it comes back to Instagram, I know the people that follow me on Instagram, or more specifically, I know the people I follow back on Instagram, and it is a subset of a subset of a subset of the people that I follow other places. I don't follow everyone back on Instagram. I don't follow everybody back on Twitter, but I follow very, very few people back on Instagram. It's really people I actually know. And so for me, that helps keep my perspective on that particular platform really clear, because I have a good sense of, well, I don't want to be spammy to those people, and I don't want to be salesy to those people. Those are people who probably have found me because like that, they got that notification, like your friend on Twitter is also on Instagram as, and I want to continue to honor that. And since they've gone to this extra platform, which I find that personally, Instagram is not the easiest platform for me. It took me a while to figure out, like, well, how do I want to use it? That the fact that it's more labor intensive for me, at least mentally, means, I don't know why, means that I'm much more discerning with what I want to put out there. And like I said, I think that that's something that's ideally going to be something that's valuable to the audience. And ultimately, if you're really aware of who you're for, and this is true beyond Instagram, then there is that split second where your gut could overrule the guru. Mm-hmm. And I think it always should. Because if there's something that goes, well, this person says I should do it, but okay. That usually doesn't work out so well. At least that's what I found.
And that's a very valid concept. And in all honesty, I completely agree with you. It's, you can come out with all these rules and regulations of do this, don't do that, do this, do that. And like you said earlier, what works for one person may not work for another. And just saying you checked off all the boxes doesn't mean you actually did anything. It means you checked somebody else's boxes for somebody else's market, for somebody else's results.
Yes.
And it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Your market.
And I know, and I get it. You want a checklist, you want a map, you want somebody that says, just do this and it'll be successful. And truly the only things that I think that you can ever rely on are the universal, like, scientific neurological truths. Like how does someone make a decision? That's something you can rely on. How do people gain and use trust? That's something you can rely on. So make your decisions about marketing based on those things, not on the, hey, if you growth hack your Instagram and you turn it into your Pinterest, then you'll be a Twitterati. Like, none of those things are possible, by the way, in case anyone's trying to do that.
You're just totally seducing people with numbers right now. They're like, wow,
you can do that? No. You can't.
Just had to get you excited for a moment, and then
So I think that's it. The easiest way to figure out how to master any new channel is to figure out where is the universal humanness in the channel, and speak to that. And then the only other thing you have to solve for is intent. Why are you doing it? Because if it feels like you're trying to sell and the people you're for are okay with you selling, great. Mm-hmm. But if it feels like you're trying to sell and that's not the group of people that you have built around you, whether it's Instagram or somewhere else, that is going to be a message that completely misfires.
Yeah.
And you need to be aware of that, because the mindset they're in determines their willingness to hear what you have to say. And that's a universal speaker truth. That's, you can't sell when someone's not looking to be sold to.
That's right. So my next question for you is, besides the repost app, what other third-party tools do you use to manage Instagram?
So occasionally I use Buffer, which, so I use Buffer for most of my other postings to social. Actually, I should say I do that for all my fresh postings to social, and I use Meet Edgar to cycle things, read through like podcasts and my appearance on other people's podcasts, because I want to make sure that those people continue to get, like, it pops back up in those feeds. And Buffer has a way to link Instagram in. It serves more as a reminder, like, hey, you wanted to put this thing in. But I found that with what I did that for a little while. And what I found was I didn't like using Instagram for things like what I put out in the swipe file, for instance. So other than that, like, the only third-party stuff I do is maybe, like, I might run something through a different camera app than Instagram's own filters. So I like Camera Plus. As a thing, just to do some extra stuff. But I think there's stuff even in Instagram that I see people do, and I'm like, how did they do that? And I just, like I said, I'm like an Insta baby, man. I mean, I'm still Insta newbie. I don't know what it would be. It's just,
So that means we could create a pillar and categorize people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm definitely like the Insta tadpole, like way over here. I'm in the primordial soup. But, like, I think that's fun. And I think it's true for most things, particularly when we do what we do, which is we're out on stage and there's this persona that ideally is no different than who you are off stage. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I think people need to see that, like, we don't always have our stuff together on everything.
We don't.
And I think, I don't really have an issue with people seeing that I'm still figuring out Instagram. Like, I don't. Like, I'm the kind of person that's going to go gently into something new, because I want to make sure I understand it so that I can use it the best way and I can honor my audience, as we've talked about before. And I'm sure there are people who use it beautifully to connect with audiences before they go attend events and all of that. I still think, even for me, I would want to, I really like the backstage, behind the scenes aspect of it. And that means it's not going to be it's never going to be a major platform for me. Mm-hmm. And then fast forward to 5 years, we're like, wow, she just won the Instagram awards. Webster. I don't predict that that's going to happen, but
we'll make
it's fun.
We'll make you a pretty award and then, give you your award. So you can practice your princess way.
Exactly. elbow, hand, or whatever it is.
So what do you determine as results, and how do you track them?
Oh man, I've got like the most unscientific answer to this at all. Like, results are whether or not, like, whether or not people engage with it in a way that's noticeable to me. And here's what I mean by that. I am not going to sit there and look at analytics. I don't. I think that it's not that I don't believe in analytics. I do, but I'm married to a market researcher and statistician. I mean, he's the same person. There's not more than one husband. That'd be odd. But one of the things that he has as one of his soapboxes, and he happens to be a speaker as well, is what he calls the optimization trap. And the thing is that if you look at what's happening in your analytics and you optimize for that and are always optimizing, what you end up doing is optimizing for a very, 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 very small subset. And the best way he explains is, like, if you do A/B testing, let's say for an email, you send out one version to one group and another version to one group. And let's say, as his example goes, 60% choose A and 40% choose B. Well, the optimization track would have you go, well, 60% chose A, so we're going to go with A. Mm-hmm. What that does, though, is it means that there's now 40% of people who actually like something else better, and now you're not servicing them.
Yeah.
So for me, I try to take a much more intuitive and kind of holistic approach to it. One thing I haven't really experimented with on Instagram is asking questions or using the captions in a way that would ask for a response for people. I'd be curious to see if that would be helpful. But I don't.
Have you tried using the Instagram stories yet and seeing whether you get a difference between that?
I haven't. So that's that would make me an Insta toddler. So maybe that's where I should go next. I haven't. Frankly, I don't even watch some of other people. So that's part of one of those things too, where there are these things that I have to recognize about myself too. Sometimes just because I don't do something doesn't mean other people don't do it. Like podcasts are a great example. I don't listen to them, but I'm super glad that people listen to mine. But I didn't want to start one forever because I'm like, I don't listen to podcasts. Who would do that? Like, why would do that? But then I had to face the hard truth that I don't like to write blog posts. And I was like, well, and also I'm a speaker, so why don't I do a video blog? And I just stripped the audio out, and that's a podcast. And hey, I have gotten 4 pieces of content for 1 4-minute video. Win. And an Instagram post. So woohoo.
Possibly 2 Instagram posts.
Possibly 2. I know. So yeah, I think it's like on my very seemingly ever-growing list of things to figure out for myself. That's on there. I'm going to get my email newsletter launched first, and then I'm all about Instagram stories.
So do you want to try one right now? Do you want to pull your phone?
Oh God, I don't even know what I'm doing there. So I don't.
Want me to do it for you? We'll do it on my account.
Yes? What? You're going to be like teaching me. You're like, you interviewed her about Instagram and you're teaching her about Instagram stories? Oh, Lordy. Well, I'll repost it.
I know. That's the idea. Okay. So now you can see my phone.
I can.
I've not hit record yet.
No. Okay.
But I'm going to fill my screen so we can see both you and me, so we can have a conversation on the story. Okay?
All right.
Hit record. You tell people what we're doing, and then I'll chime in until we get cut off. How's that sound?
That sounds awesome.
Okay. Go.
Hey, everyone. Melody and I are...
a picture and not a video.
So is that the difference? Like stories are just videos? I'm very confused about how that works.
It should be able to be both. Oh, live. There we go. Okay, here we go. Okay. It's checking the connection. 3, 2, 1. Now we're live.
Hey, everyone. So Mel and I are well, she's teaching me Instagram stories, but somehow through a video conference call. So there's some like the ultimate and meta video things happening all at the same time. So I have no idea what we're doing, but she's running the show. So hopefully it's all working.
Doing a wonderful job. We're doing an interview for Speaker Magazine, and we're just playing with Instagram to see what kind of results we get.
So be a result. We need you to be a result.
Yes. We need you to favorite this and comment on it and tell us what you like, what you don't like, and just tell us that we're crazy and we're having fun. I see nothing wrong with that. I think that's
I see nothing wrong with that. It's all good. It's all good. Speaker speaking is always going to be a good for Speaker Magazine at that are always going to be entertaining for the even the speakers among us. So I hope. Anyway, oh my goodness.
Okay, I think we're going to end this, and then we will go back, and my single last question for you is, what is your best Instagram tip for speakers on how to use Instagram? I'm going to end this video, and the speakers are just going to have to tune in December to find out. So say bye, Tamsen.
Bye. End live video. That was fun. So my best Instagram we had fun. fun at least. That's awesome. So my best tip for Instagram for speakers, honestly, I think, the experience that I have had is that we speak, so use Instagram to speak to people. The fact that Instagram stories exist, as a live thing, but also something that can be recorded afterwards, but videos exist. People want to see all of you. So use Instagram to show beyond what just happens on stage. I think that's the most important thing. That when you're a speaker, they get to see you from the front, and Instagram gets them an opportunity to see from the back and the awesome neck tattoo. But also I think they get to see a little bit more of the world from your view, right? So whether someone ever has aspirations of being on the stage or not, I think there is this innate curiosity about people that people have for other people. So I think the most powerful thing we can do as speakers is show them the view beyond the stage.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much, Tamsen.
You're welcome. This is super fun.
Okay, I'm going to hit stop.